Marcus Chen was 36 years old when he learned that trust could be weaponized. He was a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company in Seattle, pulling in about $78,000 annually, comfortable, but not extravagant. For 8 years, he'd been married to Vanessa, a woman whose ambition burned so bright it sometimes left him blinded to what was happening in the shadows. That October evening in 2024, Marcus made a decision that would crack his world down the middle like dropped porcelain. He decided to show up uninvited to Vanessa's leadership retreat in Portland. Vanessa worked as a regional sales director for Cascade Solutions, a B2B software company specializing in enterprise resource planning. She'd clawed her way up from inside sales to director level in just 4 years, her income now hovering around $110,000, with quarterly bonuses that could add another $20,000. Marcus had never resented her success. He'd celebrated it. He'd been the one holding down the fort during her weekend workshops, her client dinners, her conferences that seemed to multiply like rabbits. Their marriage had felt solid, predictable, maybe. They had Sunday morning pancakes. They argued about whether to get a dog. They'd started shopping for houses with an extra bedroom, the kind of room that whispers time's future, times without saying it out loud. This particular retreat was scheduled for 3 days at a boutique hotel called the Meridian, tucked into Portland's Pearl District. Vanessa had left Wednesday morning, her sleek away carry-on trailing behind her as she kissed Marcus goodbye. She'd seemed tense, checking her phone compulsively, but Marcus attributed it to the promotion she was chasing, VP of West Coast Sales, a role that would push her past $150,000 base salary. "This retreat could change our trajectory," she'd said over breakfast, adjusting her silk blouse. "Ryan thinks I'm ready for the VP track." Ryan Caldwell was Vanessa's direct boss, the SVP who'd been with Cascade for a decade. Marcus had met him once at a company holiday party, charismatic in that calculated way, wearing a Patagonia vest over a button-down like he was equally comfortable closing deals or summiting mountains. Vanessa always spoke of him with a kind of reverence, describing him as the mentor who saw her potential when others didn't. Marcus had planned a quiet weekend, catch up on side projects, maybe finally finish that novel he'd been reading since summer. But Thursday morning, his sister called with unexpected news. Their grandmother had liquidated an old savings bond she'd forgotten, about $4,200, split between Marcus and his sister. "Grandma wants you to do something fun with it," his sister explained. "Not bills. Something memorable." Marcus stared at the check. An idea crystallized like ice forming on glass. What if he surprised Vanessa? Portland was only 3 hours away. He could drive up Friday, take her to that omakase place she'd been talking about. Be spontaneous for once. When had they last done anything unplanned? He researched the hotel, checked their restaurant recommendations, booked a reservation at Koyo for 8 p.m. Friday. He imagined her face lighting up when he knocked on her door. The surprise, the romance of it. Friday afternoon, Marcus left work early, citing a family matter. He packed an overnight bag, nice shirt, dark jeans, the cologne Vanessa had bought him for their anniversary. The drive up I-5 felt charged with possibility. He arrived at the Meridian just after 6 p.m. The hotel was all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, the kind of place that shows up on design blogs. The lobby smelled like expensive candles and leather furniture. Marcus approached the front desk, suddenly aware of how his fleece pullover contrasted with the sleek aesthetic around him. "Checking in?" The clerk, a young man with perfectly styled hair, smiled professionally. "Actually, I'm here to surprise my wife, Vanessa Chen. She's here for a corporate retreat. Room 418, I think?" The clerk's fingers flew across his keyboard. His smile flickered. "I see a Vanessa Chen checked in Wednesday. But sir, I'm not authorized to give you a key without her explicit 20. "I'm her husband," Marcus said, pulling out his license and opening his phone to their wedding photo. "Same name, same address. I just want to surprise her." The clerk studied the screen. His expression shifted something Marcus would later recognize as pity. "Mr. Chen, the room is registered under the company account, but there's a secondary guest listed, A Mr. Ryan Caldwell. He checked in yesterday evening. The lobby didn't change. The music still played. People still moved through the space. But Marcus felt like he'd stepped outside his body, watching himself from a distance. "I see," Marcus heard himself say. "Thank you." He walked toward the elevators mechanically. Muscle memory. His brain was static. The elevator rose to the fourth floor. The hallway was hushed, carpeted in charcoal gray. Abstract art lined the walls, bold slashes of color that now looked like warnings. Room 416, 418. Marcus stood outside the door, raised his hand to knock, then stopped. Voices filtered through. Vanessa's laugh, intimate, unguarded. Then Ryan's lower voice, saying something Marcus couldn't quite make out. Then sounds that would etch themselves into his memory like acid on metal. Furniture moving rhythmically, breathing that became moaning. Vanessa's voice, breathy and urgent. "God, yes. Ryan, don't stop." Marcus's vision tunneled. His hands went numb. He was simultaneously hyper-aware of everything, the hum of the ice machine, the exit sign's red glow, his own pulse hammering in his skull, and completely detached, like watching a movie about someone else's life collapsing. He didn't know how long he stood there. Could have been 30 seconds. Could have been 5 minutes. Time had become unreliable. Part of him wanted to kick the door down, to force them to see him, to witness what they destroyed. But another part, the part that had spent years debugging code, identifying problems, finding solutions, told him to wait, to think, to plan. Confronting them now would accomplish nothing. They'd apologize, make excuses, paint him as the jealous husband who couldn't handle his wife's success. They'd control the narrative. No. Marcus needed leverage, evidence, time to understand the full scope before making any moves. He turned and walked back to the elevator, rode down to the lobby, approached the front desk again. "I need a room for tonight," he said to the same clerk. "Whatever you have available." The clerk looked relieved Marcus wasn't causing a scene. "We have a deluxe queen for $195. Marcus handed over his credit card joint account. He noted with bitter irony. Room 204 was nice. King bed, rainfall, shower, minibar he didn't touch despite wanting to. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out his phone. First instinct? Call Vanessa. Scream. Demand answers. Instead, he opened his camera and began documenting photos of the hotel exterior, his arrival time, the hallway outside room 418. He opened a note file and started typing every detail, every sound, every word the clerk had said. Then Marcus did something that felt both calculated and surreal. He texted Vanessa. "Hey babe, hope the retreat is going well. Thinking about you. Can't wait to hear all about it when you get home. Miss you. Love you." 3 dots appeared almost immediately. "Miss you too. Retreat is exhausting but productive. Ryan's sessions are really insightful. Probably going to be another late night. Love you back." Marcus read it 3 times. The casual lies. The mention of Ryan like he was just a colleague, not the man she'd been gasping for 20 minutes ago. He set his phone down, stared at the ceiling, let himself feel it. The full weight of betrayal, the shattering of 8 years of shared life. Then he dried his eyes and started planning what came next. Because Vanessa and Ryan had made a critical mistake. They'd underestimated him. They'd seen a mild-mannered software engineer who avoided conflict, who let Vanessa take the lead on most decisions, who'd never pushed back when she needed to work late. What they didn't understand was that Marcus spent his days solving complex problems. He understood systems. He knew how to find bugs, trace them to their source, and fix them, or, in this case, expose them. Marcus Chen was about to debug his own life. And when he was done, Vanessa and Ryan would learn that some errors don't get patched quietly. Some errors crash the entire system. Saturday morning, Marcus woke at dawn in his hotel room, having barely slept. Every time he'd closed his eyes, he heard those sounds. Vanessa's voice. The intimacy that was supposed to belong to him, given freely to someone else. He ordered room service, coffee and toast he couldn't taste, and opened his laptop. Time to do what he did best. Gather information. Identify patterns. Find the truth hiding in the data. First, he logged into their shared credit card account. He'd never had reason to scrutinize it before, but now he scrolled back through months of statements with new eyes. There, August 15th. Charges at the Heathman Hotel in Portland, $287. Vanessa had said she was visiting a client that weekend. But Marcus found a corresponding charge for room service, 2 entrees, a bottle of wine, for a solo business trip. July 3rd. Weekend getaway to wine country. Vanessa claimed it was a girls' trip with her colleague Monica. But Marcus found charges at a romantic bed and breakfast in Willamette Valley. Dinner for 2 at a restaurant with intimate and couples in every review. May 22nd. Conference in San Francisco. Hotel room, spa services, dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. All charged to their joint account, while Marcus had been home replacing their water heater. The pattern emerged like a photograph developing in chemicals. At least 6 trips over the past 5 months where Vanessa had been lying about where she was and who she was with. How many more had she paid for with cash or her corporate card? Marcus took screenshots of everything. Then he did something he'd never done before. He logged into Vanessa's laptop using the password she didn't know he knew. They'd always had a policy of privacy, of trust. That trust was dead now. Her email revealed more than he wanted to know. Threads with Ryan that started professional and gradually became intimate. Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked incredible in that dress. 3 more days until Portland. I'm counting down. There was a draft email, never sent, dated 2 weeks ago. Asterisk. Marcus has been talking about kids again. I don't know how to tell him. I'm not sure about our future anymore. Everything feels different now that you're in my life. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if we didn't have to hide. If I could wake up next to you without feeling guilty about it. Is that terrible? Asterisk. Marcus read it twice. His hands were steady, but something cold had settled in his chest where his heart used to be. She'd been planning this. Not just an affair, but an exit strategy. She was falling in love with Ryan while Marcus planned their future, looking at houses with nurseries. He copied everything. Emails, photos, calendar entries showing team dinner that coincided with hotel charges. Text message backup stored in her cloud. Then Marcus made a phone call to someone he hadn't spoken to in 2 years, Derek Liu, his college roommate who now worked as a private investigator in Portland. Marcus Chen, Derek answered warmly. This is a surprise. You in Portland? I am, and I need your help with something sensitive. They met at a diner 2 blocks from Marcus's hotel. Derek listened without interrupting as Marcus explained everything, the surprise visit, what he'd heard, what he'd found. Jesus, Derek said quietly when Marcus finished. I'm sorry, man. That's brutal. I need to know if this is just an affair or if there's more. Marcus said, Ryan Caldwell. I need to know about him, his background, whether he's done this before, and I need documentation that would hold up legally. Derek pulled out a tablet and started taking notes. Ryan Caldwell, SVP at Cascade Solutions. On it. Give me 48 hours. But Marcus, are you sure you want to go down this road? Sometimes, knowing more just amplifies the pain. I can't move forward until I understand what I'm moving forward from, Marcus said. I need the whole truth. All right, I'll be thorough. After Derek left, Marcus drove back to Seattle. He couldn't stay in Portland another night, couldn't risk accidentally running into them. The 3-hour drive felt both too long and too short enough time to replay every moment of his marriage, wondering which parts had been real. He arrived home Saturday evening to their townhouse in Fremont, the place they'd picked together, the kitchen where they'd hosted dinner parties, the bedroom where they'd planned their lives. It all felt contaminated now. Marcus walked through the rooms with his phone, photographing everything. Vanessa's home office yielded more evidence, printed itineraries that didn't match where she'd claimed to be. A handwritten note tucked in her desk drawer. V last night reminded me why this is all worth the risk. You make me feel alive in ways I haven't felt in years. I know it's complicated, but we'll figure it out. We always do. R. Marcus photographed it. Left it exactly where he'd found it. He also discovered something else. Vanessa had recently updated her will. She'd increased her life insurance through work from $150,000 to $500,000, naming Marcus as beneficiary. The paperwork was dated 3 weeks ago. The discovery sent ice through his veins. Was it standard benefits enrollment? Or was Vanessa planning something? He immediately dismissed the paranoia. Vanessa was a cheater, not a murderer. But still, he photographed that too. Sunday morning, Vanessa's flight landed at 2:45 p.m. Marcus picked her up from SeaTac, pulling up to arrivals just as she emerged with her carry-on. She looked radiant, glowing, even. Her hair was styled, makeup perfect, wearing the cashmere sweater he'd given her for Christmas. She also looked like someone who'd spent the weekend in bed with her boss. "Baby!" Vanessa called out, waving. She came over and kissed him, and Marcus tasted betrayal on her lips. "God, it's good to be home. I missed you so much." "Missed you too," Marcus said, loading her bag. "How was the retreat?" "Intense but amazing," Vanessa said, sliding into the passenger seat and immediately checking her phone. "Ryan's leadership workshops are incredible. I learned so much about executive presence and strategic thinking." She scrolled through messages, smiling at something on the screen. "How was your weekend?" "Quiet," Marcus said, merging into traffic. "Just worked on some code. Nothing exciting." In the car, Vanessa talked animatedly about the retreat, the team-building exercises, the breakout sessions, the networking dinners. She had details prepared, anecdotes. If Marcus hadn't spent Friday night in Portland, hadn't heard what he'd heard, he would have believed every word. She was an exceptional liar, practiced, comfortable with deception. "Oh, and I have news," Vanessa said as they merged onto I-5 toward home. "Ryan pulled me aside before we left. He said he's recommending me for the VP position. It's basically mine. We're talking $155,000 base, plus better equity and bonuses. Marcus, this could change everything for us." She grabbed his hand, squeezing it. "We could finally buy that house in Ballard, the one with the yard. Maybe even start thinking seriously about kids." "That's incredible," Marcus said, keeping his voice level. "Ryan's really been supportive of your career." "He really has," Vanessa agreed, her eyes shining. "He sees something in me that I didn't even see in myself. I'm so lucky to have him as a mentor." Marcus's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "Yeah, really lucky." They got home, and Vanessa immediately disappeared into the bedroom to unpack. Marcus went to the kitchen and opened a bottle of wine Pinot Noir from a winery they'd visited on their honeymoon. He poured 2 glasses. His hands didn't shake. That evening, they had dinner together like a normal couple. They drank the wine. They watched an episode of the show they'd been binge-watching. Vanessa fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, and Marcus sat there for an hour, his arm around a woman who had become a stranger. Monday morning, Marcus woke to a text from Derek. Asterisk. "Initial findings are very interesting. Multiple red flags. Can you meet Tuesday evening? I'll have a preliminary report." Asterisk. Marcus deleted the text immediately. He was being careful now, covering his tracks, leaving no evidence Vanessa might stumble across. He went to work, sat through meetings about sprint planning and technical debt, taught a junior developer how to optimize database queries. Normal Monday things. Except nothing felt normal anymore. That evening, Vanessa came home late, glowing with excitement. "The VP announcement might come sooner than expected," she said, pouring wine. "Ryan thinks maybe January instead of Q2. This is really happening, Marcus." "I'm happy for you," Marcus said, and part of him was the part that still remembered loving her before everything shattered. They went to bed at 11. Vanessa curled against him like she always did. "I love you," she murmured sleepily. "I'm so glad we have this. Some couples just drift apart, you know? We're solid." "Yeah," Marcus whispered into the darkness. "Solid." He lay awake long after her breathing deepened into sleep, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of her body against his side. This was his wife. They'd stood in front of friends and family and made promises, for better or worse, forsaking all others, till death do us part. Those vows had meant everything to Marcus. He'd taken them seriously, lived by them, never even been tempted to break them. Apparently, they'd meant nothing to Vanessa. Or maybe they had meant something once, and then Ryan Caldwell had come along with his charisma and his power and his promises, and Marcus, steady, predictable Marcus, had simply been erased. Tuesday evening, Marcus met Derek at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, far from both their neighborhood and Vanessa's office in South Lake Union. Derek had a laptop and a manila folder. "Your boy, Ryan Caldwell, is interesting," he said without preamble. 43 years old, married to Elena Caldwell for 16 years. She's an architect. They have 3 kids, twin girls, 14, and a son, 11. Live in a $900,000 house in Madison Park. Derek pulled up a family photo from social media, Ryan with his wife and kids at a ski resort, all matching smiles and expensive gear. "Here's where it gets messy," Derek continued. "This isn't Ryan's first affair. I found evidence of at least 2 other women at Cascade who had relationships with him that ended with them leaving the company." Marcus leaned forward. "Tell me." First was a woman named Melissa Torres, marketing manager, worked directly under Ryan about 4 years ago. She left suddenly in 2021. Her departure was listed as voluntary resignation, but I have a source in HR who confirmed there was a settlement and NDA involved. Sexual harassment complaint that got buried. And the second? Sarah Kim, senior sales director, same level as Vanessa. Worked with Ryan from 2022 until this past June. She was being groomed for a VP position, then suddenly transferred to the Denver office and signed an NDA as part of her relocation package. I managed to reach her through a mutual LinkedIn connection. She wouldn't go on record, but she confirmed there was an inappropriate relationship with Ryan that made her position untenable. She said HR gave her a choice: relocate quietly or resign with a smaller severance. Derek slid the folder across the table. "Everything's in here. Dates, documentation, witness statements from people willing to talk off the record, hotel receipts showing Ryan and Vanessa together at company expense. I found at least 5 trips in the past 6 months where they shared rooms or had connecting rooms booked under corporate cards." Marcus opened the folder. Printed emails between Ryan and Vanessa, nothing explicitly sexual, but intimate in ways that crossed every professional line. Asterisk. "Can't wait for Portland. Last time was perfect." Asterisk. Phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts, often late at night. A timeline showing Vanessa's rapid promotions since she started working directly with Ryan. "Here's something else," Derek said, pulling up another document. "That VP position Vanessa's going for? It was supposed to go to Sarah Kim. She had more experience, better numbers, longer tenure. But Ryan wanted Sarah gone, and Vanessa elevated. So Sarah got her opportunity in Denver. And suddenly, that VP slot became available. So Vanessa's career advancement is directly tied to sleeping with her boss," Marcus said flatly. "That's what the evidence suggests," Derek confirmed. "Which means, when this comes out, and Marcus, if you pursue this, it will come out. Vanessa's professional reputation is destroyed. Everyone will assume she earned her promotions in bed, not through merit." Marcus sat back, processing. This was so much bigger than he'd realized. This wasn't just about his marriage. This was a pattern of exploitation, enabled by corporate complicity. Ryan had done this before. He'd do it again. "What would you do?" Marcus asked. "If you were me," Derek considered, "you've got options. Option 1, straightforward divorce. You've got ironclad proof of adultery. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still affect property division and spousal support. You'd likely get a favorable settlement. Option 2, expose Ryan to his wife and the company, blow up his marriage, trigger an internal investigation, maybe file a lawsuit. Ryan loses everything. But Marcus, that's nuclear. It's messy, public, and it'll hurt you too. Option 3. Strategic approach. You've got information that's valuable to multiple parties. Elena Caldwell deserves to know. The company needs to understand their legal liability. Sarah and Melissa might want justice if they knew they weren't alone. You could orchestrate comprehensive consequences, but it requires patience and perfect timing. Marcus thought about all those coding problems he'd solved over the years. The bugs that seemed impossible until you found the right approach. The systems that looked chaotic until you understood the underlying logic. I want option 3, he said. Derek nodded. I thought you might. Here's what we need to do. They spent 2 hours planning. Derek would continue gathering evidence and discreetly reach out to Sarah Kim and Melissa Torres. Marcus would consult with a divorce attorney, but hold off on filing. Meanwhile, he'd continue playing the oblivious husband while building their case. One more thing, Derek said seriously. You need to get tested for STDs. I'm sorry to be blunt, but if Vanessa's been with Ryan for months while still being intimate with you, Marcus's stomach turned. Another violation. Another layer of betrayal. Right. I'll do that. And Marcus, Derek's expression was sympathetic. Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. You need to be absolutely sure. I'm sure, Marcus said. How many other women is Ryan going to victimize if someone doesn't stop him? They shook hands. Marcus tucked the folder safely in his messenger bag and drove to an urgent care clinic. The testing was quick but humiliating. Sitting in a sterile room answering questions about sexual history and exposure risk. The shame of it. Even though rationally, he knew none of this was his fault. The nurse was kind. Results in about a week. Try not to worry. Most things are very treatable these days. Marcus thanked her and left, feeling hollowed out. Vanessa came home at 9 p.m., later than expected but within normal range. She brought takeout from their favorite Thai place, Pad Seu, and green curry. Peace offering, she said, holding up the bag. I know I've been working crazy hours. I thought we could have dinner together. That's sweet, Marcus said, unpacking containers. How was your day? Exhausting, Vanessa said, kicking off her heels and pouring wine. Ryan and I spent 3 hours with the exec team hammering out Q4 strategy, but I think we nailed it. She sipped her wine, looking satisfied. Ryan told me today that I remind him of himself at my age. Hungry, strategic, willing to do what it takes to win. He said I'm going places. I bet he did, Marcus murmured. They ate dinner at their small dining table, sitting in the chairs they'd assembled together from IKEA 3 years ago. Vanessa talked about work-safe topics like market trends and client strategies. Marcus listened, asked questions, played his role perfectly. Later, getting ready for bed, Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled before typing a quick response. Everything okay? Marcus asked from the bathroom, where he was brushing his teeth. Just Ryan with a question about tomorrow's presentation, Vanessa called back. He works too late. I keep telling him he needs better work-life balance. The irony was apparently lost on her. Wednesday, Marcus met with a divorce attorney named Catherine Park. Her office was in a professional building downtown, clean lines, leather furniture, walls lined with legal volumes. Catherine listened to his story without interruption, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. You have an exceptionally strong case, she said when he finished. The documentation is excellent. In Washington, adultery doesn't automatically affect property division, since we're a no-fault state, but it can impact decisions around spousal support, especially given the income disparity. You make $78,000, she makes 1 to 10 plus bonuses. Normally, she might owe you maintenance. With this evidence of her fault, you'd likely get a very favorable settlement. What's the timeline? If uncontested, 90 days minimum from filing. Washington requires a 90-day waiting period. If she fights it, 6 months to a year. But honestly, most cheating spouses want to settle quickly to avoid public embarrassment. Catherine leaned forward. But I sense you want more than just a divorce. Marcus explained about Ryan, about the pattern at Cascade Solutions, about the other women silenced through NDAs. If I'm blowing up my life anyway, shouldn't there be some larger justice? Marcus asked. Shouldn't Ryan face real consequences? Catherine steepled her fingers thoughtfully. Legally, you're on solid ground to share information with Ryan's wife. That's not defamation if it's true. As for the company, if you can prove they knowingly enabled harassment, there could be grounds for a lawsuit. Not from you directly, but if the other victims come forward as a group, they'd have a strong case. But, Marcus prompted, but that route is expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining. Catherine said honestly, employment litigation can take years. It's unpredictable. You'd be signing up for a much longer, more difficult process. What would you do? Catherine smiled slightly. I'd ask myself what I really want. Revenge, to make them suffer? Or justice to prevent this from happening to others? Both are understandable, but only one will let you move forward afterward. Marcus considered. What if it could be both? Then you'd need a carefully coordinated plan, excellent timing, and probably some luck, Catherine said. But I've seen it done. The key is you have to be certain, because once you pull that trigger, there's no taking it back. Lives will be destroyed, not just theirs, but potentially yours too. You'll be in the middle of a public scandal. I'm certain, Marcus said. They spent the next hour mapping strategy. Catherine would prepare divorce papers but hold them until Marcus was ready. She'd also quietly reach out to the previous victims to gauge their interest in breaking their NDAs if legal grounds existed. One more thing, Catherine said as their meeting concluded. Think carefully about your wife. I know she's hurt you terribly, but the situation is complex. Ryan is her supervisor. There's inherent power imbalance. The company created an environment where this could develop. I'm not excusing her choices, but she's potentially a victim too, even if she doesn't see it that way. Marcus nodded, though privately he wasn't sure he agreed. Yes, Ryan had power, but Vanessa had made daily choices to lie, to maintain the affair, to plan their future while destroying his. Still, Catherine's words stayed with him as he drove home. What did he really want? Thursday evening, Marcus was working on code in their living room when his phone buzzed with an email from Derek. Subject line, urgent. You need to see this. The email contained screenshots of text messages between Ryan and Vanessa from earlier that day. Derek must have found a way to access their communications. Marcus didn't ask how. Elena's asking questions about Portland. She's suspicious. What did you tell her? Retreat stuff, meetings. She didn't buy it completely. We need to be more careful. Maybe we should cool things off for a while. This is getting complicated. We've been through this. Just a few more months until your VP promotion locks in. Then we can make decisions about leaving our spouses. I'm not losing you because we got impatient. Do you really think you'll leave Elena? You've been saying that for months. I promise, V. By next summer, we'll be together for real. We'll both file around the same time, say we're moving on from dead marriages. No one will connect it to us. I hope you mean that, because I can't keep lying to Marcus forever. He's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. Then end it. Tell him you want a divorce. You don't need to mention us. I can't. Not yet. He'd ask too many questions. Besides, if I file now, we'd have to split everything 50-50. Better to wait until after the promotion, after I've moved some assets around. Then I'll have more leverage. Smart thinking. That's my girl. This is why you're going places. Learn it from the best. What time should I tell Marcus I'll be home tonight? Late. I booked us a room at the Four Seasons. Room 1847. I'll be there by 7. You're terrible. I love it. Love you too. See you soon. Marcus read the messages 3 times. Each pass made him colder, more detached. Vanessa wasn't just cheating. She was actively planning to financially devastate him, move assets, wait until she had maximum leverage, then divorce him on her terms, leaving him with as little as possible. And Ryan was orchestrating it, encouraging Vanessa to be strategic about destroying her marriage. The cold fury Marcus had been cultivating crystallized into diamond-hard resolve. This wasn't weakness or mistakes. This was calculated, premeditated betrayal. They were plotting against him, believing he was too naive to ever figure it out. Marcus forwarded the screenshots to Catherine with a simple message. Asterisk. Timeline needs to move up. How soon can we strike? Asterisk. Her response came within 30 minutes. Sarah Kim is willing to talk. She's angry about being pushed out for Vanessa. She has documentation. I can probably get her to file an EEOC complaint by end of next week. Can you be ready by the 18th? Marcus typed back. The 18th works. Let's do this. He deleted the email thread, cleared his browser history, and went back to his code as if nothing had happened. An hour later, Vanessa texted, working super late. Big project. Don't wait up. Love you. Marcus knew exactly where she was. Room 1847 at the Four Seasons, probably drinking champagne on the company's dime while planning his financial ruin. He texted back, no problem, love you too. Then he poured himself a bourbon, something he rarely did on weeknights, and sat on their small balcony in the cool November air. Their neighbor's apartment had Christmas lights up already, twinkling through the windows. Normal people living normal lives. Marcus's life was about to become decidedly not normal. He thought about their wedding at that winery on Whidbey Island. Vanessa in her simple dress, both of them so young and optimistic. The year they'd lived in a studio in Capitol Hill, so broke they'd eaten ramen constantly, but so happy it hadn't mattered. The day they'd bought this townhouse, standing in the empty living room, dreaming about filling it with furniture and memories, and eventually children. Had any of it been real? He'd probably never know. What mattered now was protecting himself, stopping Ryan from victimizing anyone else, and ensuring that actions had consequences. If you want to see how Marcus executes his plan and what happens when everything comes crashing down, let me know in the comments. And tell me, have you ever had to choose between revenge and justice?